What is up, everybody? We are live. All right, so today I'm going to be getting into a few different topics. I'm going to be talking about the state of women's MMA right now. I think it's underwater. I think there are a lot of issues going around, and we're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about Dana White going on the war path against woke ideologies. We're going to get into Garry and all the stuff that's going on with him. We're also going to talk about Tom Aspinall, some social justice warriors this week. We're trying to get him stripped of his belt. And if there's time, I'm going to talk about the PFL Bellator deal. The week is in recap. I think I'm going to start doing this regularly. If you guys like it, I'm going to talk about all the stuff that went on this week and give my takes. What are my takes worth? Who the hell knows? I'm just some idiot on the internet. But it'll be fun, and I want to talk about it. So there. And I'm going to put chapters in so you can skip ahead, all that type of stuff. But my request, code of honor, if you are watching my content and you like it, subscribe. That's all I ask. If you like it, subscribe. Like it, subscribe. If you don't like it, don't subscribe. But a lot of people are subscribing these days, so you might want to get in on it. Anywho, so the first thing I want to talk about is the Garry situation and his wife. This is all over MMA Twitter, MMA social media, everything like that. They're talking about this situation. And I'm not one to pass any judgment. Like, if it's the situation that works for them, good for them. All I will say is that in our 20s as men, right, we've all been there. I'm married now, kids, all this other kind of stuff, happy, awesome. But in our quest for that, someone, that lady, the person who's going to make our life complete, help us start our family, etc., every man, I'm pretty sure, on the planet has found the woman who they thought was it, but turned out to be the exact opposite of what we need. If you're a man, if you've been through this, I think you know the type of lady I'm talking about. She makes things good in the beginning, like real good. She's real good in that one area. I think you all understand what I'm talking about. Real good. But then some stuff pops up, right? And you're just kind of like, yeah, I don't like that. It's really good, right? And so against your better judgment, you start saying yes to things that you would have never said yes to. You start giving money away, doing different things, supporting people you probably shouldn't be supporting, right? Because it's so good. This type of woman, and I don't know if Garry's wife is this type of woman. I don't know, right? But in her early to mid 20s, that woman comes up for most men. You're like, yeah, I got to lock this one up. But against your better judgment, some stuff goes on. Now, I could be completely wrong. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. All I'm going to say is that there is that type of woman. Every man finds that type of woman at some point in their life. And things are really good in that one area. We all know what I'm talking about. But like I said, they have you making those mistakes, making those bad judgment calls. And sometimes it takes an objective person. And I'm not talking about idiots on the internet, but you've got that buddy, right? You've got that one buddy. I know a buddy did it for me. You've got that one buddy who kind of comes up and says, listen, man, you're probably going to hate me for this. You're probably going to, not want to talk to me for a while, whatever, but this isn't it, right? This is not it. And they come along, they say that for you. If you're watching, you know who you are. But like, that's the guy, right? He'll come along, he'll say like, listen, I just don't think this is it, right? And then at that point, you're kind of like, okay, well, he's been my bro forever. He's been whatever. Like, maybe there's something to this, right? And you probably get mad. You'll be like, that's none of your business who I married, blah, 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 blah. You might get mad at him, right? But eventually, I hope so, in retrospect, you're going to come back and you're going to be like, yeah, he was right. So every man in their 20s has probably met a woman like this. I don't know if this is the case with Garry's wife. I don't even know her name, to be honest with you. But if that is the case, and she wrote a book on how to like seduce, professional athletes, she's got her ex-husband living with them. It's kind of a weird situation. I don't think most men would agree to that. But like, again, everybody's different, right? But we've all been there. If you haven't been there yet, you're gonna get there, right? There's gonna be that woman where things are really good in that one area, but it makes things cloud. It clouds your judgment, gentlemen. It clouds your judgment until eventually, like, it either ends in like a messy divorce and you lose a whole bunch of your shit because it's so good in that area, or somebody comes along and like, listen, bro, this is not it, right? So hopefully this is not the case with Garry. Hopefully his family's good and everything's good and whatever the case may be. But just in our 20s, that girl comes along and she can mess your shit up if you're not careful. If you don't take a beat and just sort of think about the things that are going on in your life. All right, now let's move on to this. I'm going to move on to the state of women's MMA. So Sean Strickland, I don't care what y'all are saying right now. This guy is undefeated in 2023. He is undefeated in 2023. And I'm not talking about MMA. He won the belt off of Izzy. That is an accomplishment in and of itself. But the stuff he has been saying, like, are points of truth, points of wisdom in so many different areas, including some of the comments he made about women's MMA. He was saying, you know, there's a post on Twitter about Paige Vanzant, and you know, he got into it with Valentina Shevchenko last week and all this different kind of stuff. And last Saturday, we saw a woman, Aline Perez or something like that, kind of twerk on the octagon. And she posted on Twitter after that she made more money on OnlyFans than she did fighting, right? And so, you know, I'm messing up the order here. I don't know all the details, but, you know, Sean Strickland has called this out and basically said, like, yeah, you're going to make more. People are going to pay more money to see you naked than to see you fight. That's what he said, right? And, you know, I just kind of want to address this. And there are some like feminist Twitter people out there who are kind of like, listen, you know, women MMA fighters should make the same amount as men. This is bullshit, everything like that. And, you know, cool. You're entitled to your opinion. It is what it is. But the reality is that the vast majority of the time, Ronda Rousey is probably the exception, and maybe Amanda Nunes. But with those two exceptions, maybe Valentina Shevchenko, Weili Zhang a little bit, or Joanna Jacek, like, there's a few out there that people actually will probably pay to see fight. But most of the time, they're paying to see the men's title matches, right? The lightweight, the welterweight, the featherweight, the heavyweight, right? Heavyweight men. This is what people are paying to see. And every once in a while, MMA fans, we are surprised, right? Like some of the most iconic moments that are cited in my memory in terms of MMA were women's fights in certain circumstances, right? Where Amanda Nunes knocked out Chris Cyborg. That was like a moment, right? It's like, you know, this dangerous woman and Amanda Nunes finished her. That was an incredible thing to watch. You know, watching Juliana Pena stop Amanda Nunes, like an incredible moment. But that's not why I bought the pay-per-view, right? Watching Thug Rose head kick Weili and win, but that's not why I bought the pay-per-view. You see where I'm going with this, right? Watching Weili and Joanna have that incredible war a couple years ago. But that's not why I bought the pay-per-view. So, like, these things come along. That, like, people were buying pay-per-views for Ronda Rousey, certainly, right? But for the most part, and this is how it is, right? Like, this is the reality of life, that with most of the time, people are buying pay-per-view for the men. They are. And then the women's fights can be bangers and you can be pleasantly surprised. But that's not why you tuned in. And that's not why you bought the pay-per-view, right? And it's the same kind of thing. And like, if the roles are reversed, right? Like, all you feminists out there, are you complaining why, you know, female models make more than male models? No, you only complain when the complaint suits you, right? This goes back to an argument that was happening a couple of years ago where, like, the head of the WNBA, the best player in the WNBA, people were complaining that she doesn't make as much as LeBron James. And it's like, okay, you know, all the women who are complaining about this could solve this problem simply by tuning in. Buy the pay-per-view and let it be known that you're buying the pay-per-view to watch Amanda Nunes, to watch Zhang Weili, to watch Valentina Shevchenko, to watch Alexa Grasso. By the way, I bet you I know more women MMA fighters than you, right? I know more women MMA fighters than you. That's how it is. But most people are, and even like the women MMA fans that I hear about, I see on social media, I see posting, all of them are posting about the men too, with a few exceptions. Again, like a few exceptions, but most of the time they're like, oh, my favorite fighter is Charles Oliveira. My favorite fighter is Tom Aspinall. My favorite fighter is Garry. All these, that's what I see them saying, right? So, you know, it's just one of these things. You could solve this problem by watching specifically the women and letting the UFC know that you're into watching the women. But you're not going to do that because even you watch the professional sports. The professional sports that you watch, you feminists out there, you watch the men. 9 out of 10 times you're watching the men. Guaranteed. Now, again, you could change that by watching the women. You could change that, right? You could make sure that they get paid way more. Women do way more shopping than men, right? But you're not going to. That's not going to happen. You're just going to sit there and you're going to bitch and you're going to complain and you're going to say, oh, it should be the same with like there's no, like, you don't even think about the answer to this question, even though academically it's proven that women are doing better in this area than men, but you can't like wrap your head around the concept that this sells more than this. So therefore these people make more, a bigger chunk of the money. It's crazy. It's insane. It's fucking insane. So, yeah, that's what I've heard about this week, and it is insane. So, you are crazy for thinking that the UFC or Dana White or your social justice warrior causes are going to be heard by Dana White, who has been on the warpath against woke for weeks now, but it culminated this week after he did a podcast with Theo Von and after UFC 295, two major things he did, which were absolutely crazy. And I'm going to talk about that now. So if you have tuned into any of the stuff that Dana White's been up to, like, this guy does not like to be told what to do, right? And earlier this week, he was on a podcast with Theo Von, and Theo Von got shit from Peloton basically saying that, you know, oh, you had RFK on, you need to take this down, otherwise we're going to withdraw your sponsorship. Upon hearing that, Dana White says, remove the Pelotons from our UFC PI, UFC Performance Institute. That's what he said, right? And none of these, and he did it. He followed through. He made a follow-up video showing that he removed the Pelotons. He replaced them with some other version of Peloton, like that, whatever their competitor is, right? And after the UFC 295, you know, he posted pictures of himself with Donald Trump and these type of things. Excuse me. After UFC 295, he posted these things with Donald Trump, this and that. And then one of his sponsors, he said, one of the biggest sponsors of the UFC organization said, hey, you got to take that down. And Dana said, no, go F yourself, right? Go fuck yourself. Because nobody tells Dana White what to do. So I don't know what the sponsor was. I don't know if this was all Peloton or if it was Peloton and another sponsor. Some people on Twitter and these type of things, do you call it X on X now, we're saying it was Toyo Tires and other brands. I don't know, right? But the reality is this is what people are saying, and Dana White will not do it. And so this kind of goes back to the whole Bud Light sponsorship that happened, where everyone's like, oh, you know, UFC's going woke, Dana White's going woke, he's going to be, you know, something for a shill for the LGBT. Do you know Dana White? Here's how that negotiation went, I am sure, right? Bud Light came in and they said, hey, we're going to give you $100 million a year. We want to be the official sponsor of the UFC, but you guys have to do this, 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 and this, whatever, right? Something along those lines. And Dana White said, hey, how about this? I've got a counter offer. We've got 20 beer companies lining up to give us money. So you give us the $100 million and we'll put your sign on there and we'll get John Anik to read a silky smooth advertisement, all this other type of stuff. And you get nothing, except for the pleasure of doing business with the UFC, because our brand is up here. Your brand is down here. So sign on the dotted line. That's the deal, right? And then the Bud Light's probably like, you know what? That's probably okay. Sounds fair, right? And this is the thing that I respect about Dana White. You know, you could say he's a dick, he's mean to fighters, he's all these other type of things. But the one thing I respect about the guy is that he will stand up for people he considers a friend. Right. So when Joe Rogan was in hot water, Dana White stood up for him. Right. He could have said nothing. He didn't have to say anything. Right. But he did. He stood up for Joe Rogan, over the COVID stuff. He's like, Joe Rogan's my friend. This is bullshit. This is America. He can say what he wants. He can give his opinion, that type of thing. When, Donald Trump was under tons of scrutiny when he was president, everybody was criticizing him. At the end of the day, he's like, you may not agree with me politically, but Donald Trump was really good to us when we were getting started, right? He let us use the Trump Taj Mahal. He let us use all these different things for our events. He helped out with the events. He's been a fan and a supporter from the very beginning, and you don't turn your back on friends. Now, you may hate Trump, right? I certainly am not a fan of a lot of the stuff he said in certain circumstances, but like somebody who stands by their friends, like you've got to respect that, right? You've got to respect, that conviction and different things like that. So, if anybody out there thinks that Bud Light is going to, force Dana White to adopt the LGBT and woke mentality and all these other type of things, you're out of your fucking mind. He's never going to do that. Like, this is one guy who cannot be bullied or coerced or anything like that. Bottom line. So, going to talk about a couple more things and then we're going to wrap it up. Where was I? Right. So let's talk about the PFL Bellator deal. Now, the first event where PFL and Bellator are kind of one thing happened yesterday. For whatever reason, PFL, get it together, man. Like, I don't understand why I can't buy I was going to buy your pay-per-view. And this goes for like that boxing thing last month with Francis Ngannou. I couldn't buy that either in Canada. Like, what the hell is up with that? I mean, I live in Canada, by the way, in case you didn't know. So I couldn't buy it. Unless I have a cable subscription. What are you trying to sell to 80-year-olds? Are you out of your mind, PFL? Figure out a way where because we can't get ESPN Plus here, right? I can't get ESPN Plus. So figure out a way for me to buy your thing, because I actually wanted to seek you out and give you my money, but I can't, because I'm a major fight fan. I will watch absolutely anything with combat sports on the weekend, right? And this is the problem that all you guys have. PFL, Bellator a little bit, all of you guys, your marketing is trash, right? Your marketing is absolute trash. The only reason that I'm hoping with this acquisition, it gets better, but your marketing absolutely sucks. And the reason it sucks is because I have to seek you out, right? If your marketing was any good, you would find a way to be in front of me, showing me that PFL is awesome. Here are the cool fights. These are some crazy finishes. This is all the stuff. No, I can't find any of that unless I seek you out. And the only reason I'm seeking you out right now is because you have former UFC fighters who have been part of the UFC marketing machine. Now, I realize that you guys probably don't have as much money as the UFC, but goddamn, social media is free. Like, there's so many influencers out there, people who can make you viral content, who can talk about the UFC. Like, why don't you get your fighters posting about your shit? It's out. And by the way, it's a little bit better. Bellator, I've seen some stuff in the last couple weeks from Bellator and PFL ever since this acquisition took place, right? I've seen some stuff. But the only reason I know you exist is a little bit because of like the UFC fighters, a little bit because of Jake Paul, right? That's it. That is it. And it's hard to get it's hard to watch it from Canada. I'm sure in the United States it's a lot easier, but it's hard to watch it from Canada. I have to seek you out. Like, the content doesn't come to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel this way. One championship, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. I have to find how to watch your stuff. But with the UFC, and again, I get it. You don't have as much money, but there are some smart things that you can do. There are some ways that you can get in front of people that will cost you nothing. Right? Get people to post, get people to retweet, do contests, all this other kind of stuff. Like, this is marketing 101, and I never see any of it. UFC does contests all the time. They get fighters watching and tuning into their things and tweeting about it and making it a spectacle. Like, this is free. This is free marketing. Free. But you guys never do it. I never see it. And I'm subscribed to your channels now. I see a little bit of it. It's getting better. But goddamn, it should not. Look, get your shit together. Let there be something in Canada. Number one, make it easy for people in Canada because I want to watch it. And maybe I'm the only one in Canada. Who the hell knows? Maybe I'm the only one. Right? But you've got a Canadian guy who won yesterday. I wanted to watch him, and I couldn't unless I had a cable subscription. So, ergo, you need to step your thing up. I like the fact that there's more competition, there's more diversity, there's more stuff that I can watch. And frankly, you guys are getting your ass kicked by Karate Combat in the marketing department and the production department too. I see all of their stuff all the time. I see posts from them. Even though I never seek it out, I didn't follow them directly, but I see their posts. I see some of their marketing. Karate Combat is kicking your ass in the marketing department, and I am certain their budget is even smaller than yours. I am certain. Again, I'm just guessing, but I'm positive. But their social media is on point. Their production is on point. I don't have to seek them out. They make it known. Here's how you watch the fight. Here's how this is all. This is when it's happening. This is when it's going down. Look at our guys, right? I don't see any of that from PFL. I started to this past week, but like before, crickets. Anyway, the whole point, I'm not trying to, I'm shitting on PFL a little bit and Bellator and One Championship. All three of you, like if you want to get to the level of the UFC, I don't know who is at the marketing helm, but get them to figure some shit out about how you can get in front of it, making it easy for your target audience to watch your stuff, to consume your content, to be obsessed with your brand. Being obsessed with the brand. That is like, you know what you guys should do? You know what you guys should do? Straight up. This is what you should do. You've got a Canadian at the like who's like one of your best guys. He won last night, everything like that. There's another Canadian you should listen to. Read his book. Read his book. Shit, now I'm forgetting his name. Under the Influence, Terry O'Reilly. He has a book out, This I Know. Has a bunch of marketing secrets. Get your VP of marketing or whoever he is to read that book. Maybe he'll come up with some ways to build up your brand to actually get in front of people. Man. Oh, what do you know? You're just like an idiot on the internet. Oh, I went to business school. Yeah, okay. When? In the 90s? When social media didn't exist? When you had to pay for radio advertisements? When the TV was the ultimate way to advertise? Like it, because I'm not seeing any new strategies. Anyway, that is neither here nor there, but get your shit together, PFL, because I wanted to buy your pay-per-view yesterday, but I couldn't without a cable subscription to Bell Media. I don't want cable. Cable sucks. So maybe you can do that deal with Netflix or I don't know what, but I want to be able to watch your shit. I tried to watch your shit. I couldn't watch your shit. Right? One Championship, same thing. A couple weeks ago with boxing you needed a cable subscription for that too. For Francis Ngannou. And by the way, you could have used my pay-per-view for that boxing event as well because there was only like 65,000 buys. You missed out on 65,001. So, yeah. What was the last thing I wanted to talk about? Processing. All right, what did I talk about already? I talked about Ian Garry. I talked about PFL just there. I talked about Tom Aspinall. That's right. So lastly, I wanted to address the Tom Aspinall thing. This is kind of blown over by now, but I just want to address it because I saw again online some of these social justice warriors trying to get him stripped of his heavyweight title. First of all, that's never going to happen, right? You're absolutely failing at life if you think that Dana White is going to be bullied by you liberal, woke, social justice warriors. It's just not going to happen. But what I will say is you also didn't get any type of context from that like 10 seconds at all. So let me break it down for you. First of all, the entire interview, this woman, Nina Drama, was asking him weird questions. She started off by asking him about No Nut November, right? Look at this double standard. She asks him about No Nut November, which is, a guy doing what, right? And then he asks her, well, what about, anyway. You know what was said. So she asks him about that. He asks her what I would consider a reciprocal question. He gets in shit, she doesn't. Why? Right? This is the double standard that all you feminists and all you woke people, like, you never seem to wrap your head around. It's just like, this guy did a bad thing, but if a woman does the exact same thing, crickets, right? Silence. Anyway, she came out and she's like, no, I wasn't offended. It was a joke. We were having a banter, this and that, right? And if Aspinall had phrased it in the correct way, which was like, because he asked the thing and then it was awkward, and then he just kind of said, oh, well, I've seen your Instagram comments, right? Which, like, very poor phrasing, but essentially what he was trying to explain was that I follow you on Instagram, you follow me. I've seen some weird comments in your Instagram feed and posts and whatever, and I wanted to just throw that question out there, right? That was essentially what he was saying. But everybody ignored that, ignored the context, ignored the fact that the woman who did the interview was like, no, I wasn't offended because I was asking him weird questions too. And you're trying to get him stripped of the title? It's insane. It's fucking insane. I don't understand why people do this. I don't understand why it needs to be done. I don't understand. There's a lot of stuff I don't understand, but it's just like, can people mind their own business? Like, it would be one thing if it was like a professional interview and he just asked this out of the blue with like no explanation, right? That would be one thing, right? And if he kept asking and like followed her around and all this, but he doesn't do that. He just asked it and he's like, yeah, because I've seen your Instagram. They asked some weird questions there. And then she laughs it off. She laughs. And she's like, oh, I see. It's like, oh, I see what you're talking about. Ah, that makes perfect sense. Oh, because like Aspinall's married. He's got kids. He's, like his wife didn't go to the fight. By the way, I bet you didn't know this. His wife didn't go to the fight because I think she's looking after like an autistic kid or whatever, right? So yeah, I find it insane. I think all of this type of stuff where people are trying to cancel people, like the woman who was asked the question was like, oh yeah, I'm fine with it because I was asking him weird questions too. But none of you jumped on her question about No Nut November or like some of the other stuff he talks about. All you did was jump on the thing that he said. And yeah, certainly it was awkward, right? It was a weird question. But when he put a little bit of context behind it, she's like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there, right? Like, do you think he would intentionally ask, like, to essentially cheat on his wife? Recorded for the entire world to see. Do you think he would do that after just winning a championship? Maybe, like some men do stupid shit, but I think I don't think he's taken that much damage to his head yet that he would be that stupid. Maybe, but I doubt it. So anyway, if you've watched this entire thing, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me. I don't think anyone actually watched it live, but I don't care because I'm having fun and I like talking about UFC stuff. And if you like the content, code of honor, you got to subscribe. Helps out me, helps out the channel. And by the way, if you don't want to watch, the entire thing, because it's long, 30 minutes is a long time, right? I'm going to put chapters in so you can like skip to the thing you're interested in, or you could watch the whole thing. Like, maybe you've got nothing to do. It is Saturday. And no fights on today, so keep it real. Anyway, thank you all for watching. The stream is over and I will post this shortly. What do you think of this mic? Does it make the sound better? Let me know in the comments what you guys think of all these different situations. And PFL, I'm serious. Like, this is I'm probably gonna make a separate video about this. I rant about the PFL Bellator and one championship, because yeah, that bothers me so much. Anyway, bye y'all.